Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Gary.
So you had an experience. We live in the same neighborhood.
Yep.
You had an injury.
Yes.
Things didn't go well.
They sure did not.
With the urgent care and all that.
Yes.
You want to just tell me what happened?
Yeah. I was in my yard and doing some gardening and fell backwards onto a hydrangea bush.
Hydrangea bush.
A hydrangea bush, and it was rather dead, and the stalk was very brittle.
Ooh.
And I had on my left calf a very jagged-looking puncture wound.
Ooh.
So I went to patient first and sought treatment. I was seen by a nurse practitioner. She cleaned the wound and stitched it and sent me home. A couple of days later, the wound was hot and red and obviously not healing properly. So I went back to patient first and asked to see a physician. The gentleman I saw didn't unstitch the wound, but he decided to put me on antibiotics and x-ray it and told me to come back in a couple of days. And it was infected by then. It was hot and red, but he thought the antibiotics would take care of it.
But it's kind of amazing that the body has a way of signaling and telling us when things aren't right.
It was
when
very
hot and feverish
and extremely painful.
And then you knew it wasn't right.
I knew it wasn't right, and it just kept getting worse. So I saw the doctor, I guess, on a Friday in the morning. On Friday evening, my phone rang, and it was patient first saying that although the doctor hadn't seen anything on the x-ray, the radiologist had, and that I needed to go to the emergency room.
So he said, drop whatever you're doing and just go to the emergency room.
Go to the emergency room.
Immediately.
Yeah. The woman I spoke to asked me a couple of questions. At that point, I had a low-grade fever. I just wasn't feeling well. So it was definitely infected and getting worse. My husband and I went to St. Joseph's Hospital in Baltimore County, and we waited most of the night, actually, because it was a busy night at the ER. But we had a great doctor there who not only had his radiologist look at the x-rays from patient first, they re-x-rayed it, and then they ultrasounded it. And when they did the ultrasound, because they didn't see much on the x-ray, when they did the ultrasound though, the ultrasound tech asked me not just, you could see where the puncture wound was, but she could see that it was inflamed above. There was actually part of the stalk up in my calf. And the surgeon explained that, because I did end up having to have surgery, explained that every time I walked, my muscles pushed the stalk farther into my leg.
Normally the body would try to reject
Push
whatever.
It out. But
if
it was
there was
stitched.
A splinter or something.
Right.
But you stitched
She stitched it closed.
The brittle wood
into
inside
the leg.
your body, and then the muscles started moving it up.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So that's sort of like everything going on.
Yeah. So that's. I did have surgery. The surgeon had to make a pretty good sized incision. He wouldn't stitch it closed. I think he did it, not right away, but a week or so later, put a stitch in the middle just because it was such a long wound. I was in the hospital for 3 days. So
and the reason for leaving it open was to
let anything else that might be in there
and just
come out, and also to have it heal from the inside out.
Right.
If they stitch it, it can heal on the surface.
But still be
underneath. Yeah,
yeah.
Potential source of infection or problem.
Yeah, so they had to make sure you weren't sepsis.
There's something called tunneling that can happen where it heals on the top but not on the bottom. So I had visiting nurses coming, and then I thought of you. I think you mentioned to me that the Beamer would be beneficial to me. You felt that it would help me.
Right, because I had seen a video from YouTube where a missionary doctor was in Central America somewhere. Very similar leg wound, a woman, but she had gotten a wound and it wouldn't heal.
Oh, okay.
So he was using the Beamer on her, and the one that he was treating, the major one, was healing so quickly.
Wow.
So I thought, Betsy, come on over.
Right, right, and I did, and I was being followed by visiting nurses. They were coming every couple of days, and we started the Beamer pretty early in the process, but not right away. And I remember initially, after my first session, my friend who was helping me dress it, the wound had to be dressed every day. My friend who is a nurse who was helping me dress it the day after my first Beamer session was amazed. She said, "Wow, look, it's not as red. It's a little bit closed. It's not." They were measuring the depth and the length of the wound, and the depth had decreased even after one session. She noticed that it was smaller, shallower. Then when the visiting nurse came, she too was really impressed. But the most impressed people were the people at the St. Joseph's Wound and Ostomy Center.
Was that after we did the second treatment?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so just if you're a Beamer owner, what I did for Betsy, we were actually watching a movie.
Right.
And I put the B spot on you, and I did 2 20-minute treatments at a level 5. I just want to get that information in there.
Right.
And that seemed to have a pretty dramatic effect because the next day
Yes.
there was already some noticeable
improvement, and I could feel it. I would not say that it was at all painful, but I could tell that there was activity near the wound.
Right.
So that was just interesting to me.
So somehow the electromagnetic field was stimulating
Yes.
some healing factors.
Absolutely.
Without knowing exactly what we're talking about, it just works. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to the Wound and Ostomy Center for my first visit there, post-surgery, the nurses were amazed. I mean, they said, what happened? What have you been doing? Because I had a trip coming up at the end of the month to go to Portland, Oregon, and I had asked the surgeon, will this be healed by then? And no, it won't be healed. And I'd asked the visiting nurse, and she said, no, it probably won't be healed. And so I asked them, I said, do you think that it's possible this could be healed by the end of the month because we're going to Portland? And they said, this looks amazing. There's a chance that it may be healed.
Yeah.
And I went back there one more time after other sessions with the Beamer, and again they were just flabbergasted.
So in total, we did 3 sessions.
Did we do?
Was it 2 or 3?
Well, I thought it was 3 or 4, but actually it was one down at Judy's watching the movie,
Right.
and then 2 here, I guess. So
Oh
I guess it
yeah,
was
we were
3.
here. We were once at your house,
Oh, that's right.
and then once here.
And once here.
I think it was
Was
3
it once
times.
here or twice here?
Wow.
It doesn't matter.
3 or 4 times.
Whatever it was, I was willing to come back.
So when you went to Oregon, what happened?
When I went to Oregon, it was virtually healed. I mean, I
Wow.
had to keep it covered, but I could no longer pack it. I had to pack it with a antimicrobial strip of silver something that they had given me. They said stop packing it. Just lay the stuff on top as an antimicrobial, but you no longer need to pack it because that's actually keeping it from closing. It's trying to close because of the Beamer. And so it has continued to heal, and I went yesterday, and again, she said, this is amazing, it looks wonderful, you're done, you can stop.
So as far as pulse electromagnetic frequency therapy, you're pretty convinced that
I am.
it has something going for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the difference, but I would say to myself, well, you want to see the difference. Medical people who have nothing to gain saw the difference and remarked on it.
Right, and to the point that those are people who look at wounds all day long.
All day long.
And when they saw you, something was different.
Absolutely. And Ann Welsh, who is my friend who came every day and dressed it was a wound care specialist at GBMC in the emergency department, and she was also she was really surprised and pleasantly surprised at how quickly it was healing when we were doing that.
Well, I've been using the Beamer for a year and a half, and I have only good things to say about it.
Right.
And sort of my secret ticket for, my retirement and growing older, I want to stay healthy, and then whenever I metamorphose into something else,
Right.
Whatever, that'll be what it is.
Right.
But it's nice to be healthy, and I'm glad you're doing well.
Well, I really appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing your story.
You're welcome.